Okay, I'm making a video here dealing with an air mixer that was sent back to us, a gear reduction air mixer with the air motor. And the air motor stopped working for the particular customer. And this has happened several times for this one customer. So I've dismantled the air motors. We're going to go through a number of pieces here. This is the gear reducer. I can insert this air motor shaft into the gear reducer, and I can engage the gear shaft, and I can turn it, and I can make the impeller turn down there. So I know that this part here is okay. So I took this all apart. This is the air motor. This is the part that goes in here, and it gets held by set screws in here. This is the actual motor that turns. This is the housing that goes around this. Now what I'm looking for here is I'm asking myself, is this getting lubrication and out of dry air? Because air motors have these wipers. These wipers go in these slots. And the slots rub along the outside of this and the inside of this and the edge of that. And if you aren't getting good lubrication in here, then you're going to have a problem with the motor. And you can have stalling problems and failure to operate problems. Well, several things. I took it apart and I found this piece of metal right here. The man may not focus in this camera, but there's a piece of sliver of metal that came out of there. I also noticed that all four of these blades are dry. I then look in this housing in here. I have this part where the air goes out, and I rubbed in there. What I found was dry carbon, dry metal, like steel. And it kind of comes off dry. You can see a little bit there, and I can wipe it on the paper. I also noticed that these are worn. They wear there, and not so much there, and they wear there, which means they're wearing along this surface. So there's some kind of dust being created. Where the air goes into this, it looks clean, except the camera may not you see this pitting going on. Well, this is a steel housing, and this pitting, that implies there's water getting in here, because water would corrode steel. I look at this piece here, the actual rotating part, and I can see there are some water stains. Like right there, there's a water stain. As I go around, I'm getting water stains. I also notice that this whole surface is dry. It's not moist, which oil would be on it. Like this oil up top is oil draining down from this housing up here. That's full of oil. That's what this is for. So the failure of this motor appears to be due to moisture and or lack of oil. These motors are wear parts by nature because these air vanes wear out by nature, and we actually have a shred of metal, and I cannot tell you it came off of this one of these or not. I just can't see that fine to say where it came from, but it did come out of this when I took this apart. So this is a brief story about air motors, and when an air motor is properly lubricated, you may have extra oil spitting out of the outlet. And depending on your installation, you might not want that oil coming out of the outlet because it can make a mess on the surrounding area. So oftentimes people choke back on the oil, and it just eventually the motor, in essence, burns up. It wears out. So if you're working in a somewhat clean environment, but you want this to operate, you either want to pipe the discharge out of the clean area and make sure plenty of oil is going through there with the air, make sure there's no water in there, and things should last a lot longer. There's also, which you may not see, signs of rust on these wear plates. There's rust right there. There's rust right there. And there's rust right there. This rust says to me that the motor was working, but it wore out. So it's possible by just the motor assembly to put on top of the mixer assembly. So that's a little story about air motors, lubrication, and the Norcross gear reduction mixer. Thank you very much. Have a great day.